All right, welcome to another episode of Trip Report. Today's episode, we're actually recording in a legit studio here at the Steel City Arts Foundation here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Today I'm joined by my brother Mark, and he's going to talk about his very first psilocybin experience. So welcome, Mark.
Hi.
So I guess before we get into this, it was your first psilocybin experience, but am I correct? Did you try LSD in college prior to this?
Oh, yeah, I think I did, actually. I think I did like a half a tab or something like that at one point. I do remember talking to you about that, and that was an interesting experience because like the people I was with, I don't know, they were all trying to like smoke weed and stuff during it, and I heard that like elevates the experience. But the one thing I think is funny from that experience is while we were tripping, it was like me and like a group of like 4 or 5 other people, and the one guy was downstairs playing a video game. It's like a football video game where when you would hit other players, you would just see their bones break. And like tons of, I'm like, why are you doing this right now? Like, I'm all about love and peace. This is messed up. And I was just like, this is not the vibe. So the rest of us are like walking around the house and just whatever. And our crew, we end up downstairs, and there's this one guy that we used to live with, and we all got weird vibes. We're like, he could be a serial killer. Like him and his girl he's with. Like, we're like, this is sketch. And then we find out that was my sophomore year of college, I believe. And then my senior year, we found out he was a rapist.
Ooh.
Yeah, so we were like, oh, like and now I'm like, oh, did we like sense bad energy from a guy or something?
It's so fascinating
so
you
weird.
say that because I always think back to one of the most profound moments I've had on a psilocybin trip was we were in Sayulita, Mexico, whenever I was with my ex-wife, and we were walking down the street, and there was this guy approaching me, and as he came closer, my whole visual field started dimming, and it was getting darker and darker, and I got this knot in my stomach that kept twisting and turning, and as he got close to me, I got more nauseous, and literally like the whole world got darker as this guy got near me, and I got just the worst, creepiest vibes from him. So I kind of like distanced myself, and he walked by, and as soon as he walked by, the light came back out and all the nausea went away. So there is definitely a level of like feeling people's energy whenever you're tapped into that, other side.
Yeah, I was like, this is weird. And it was funny how dumb you are on like these whatever psychedelic stuff too, because we're like, oh, we need to get away from this dude. So we like go out to the back porch. And then we got there for a little bit, like, it's kind of cool. And then we go inside the upstairs room. We're like, it's kind of tight in here. And then we go back down where he is. And we're like, wait, we just did a circle. Like, we're so
But, so you said about a half a tab of acid. Did you have like did you have like the cartoonish visual space?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think I just was like, I'm high, I guess. Like, it's just weird.
So
yeah.
like at that point, you wouldn't have said that was truly your first psychedelic experience.
No. Like when I watched Rocks Breathe on the beach of St. Thomas, I was like, holy shit, what
Gotcha.
the hell is that? Yeah.
That was kind of just one of like the prefaces to like, okay, although you had a psychedelic chemical previously, it wasn't really a psychedelic experience that time.
Not at all. Like when we went, the beach of St. Thomas is probably the best place to do it ever. Like I peaked. It was fun. I just remember we took it in the car and then walked down because it was like a half mile walk down to the beach. And I just remember on the way down being like, oh, colors are brighter. It's kind of weird. I had like the sickness, like the stomach stuff. I'm like, oh, that's weird. But I was like, I know I just need to hang out. And then we went down to the beach and y'all were like, I don't know, maybe we'll take some more if you want some more. And then I looked over at the rock and I just see it like move. And then you looked at me and just started laughing. And I was like, what the fuck?
He's in it.
Yeah. And I was like, I'm not taking more. That's all I know. Because I don't know what this is.
I think, was it 2 grams? I forget what dose we started
I think
with.
it was 2 grams, yeah. I feel like that's like the great.
Right.
Yeah. Especially if you're fasted, you're doing like the citric like addition, like whatever the way you go about it. Like if you're eating a bunch of pizza, 2 grams might be less valuable to you. Yeah, I don't know. It was fun. I just remember like we went down to the beach and we started like swimming in the water. Mm-hmm. A lot of it was like being like third-partied, observing myself in a situation and being like, I shouldn't care about this or that kind of thing. Like I remember, I don't know if you guys were in the water before I got in the water or what the deal was. There's so many like things I feel like I have faint memories of that I don't fully remember. That's what I love about you is like you have like the actual like journal to be like, okay, here's like the different things I experienced. Because I feel like I remember seeing you and your partner at the time like going into the water and I'm like, oh, look at them, they're like in love. It's so like neat or whatever. And I'm like, I don't have love. And then I'm just like going through all that in my brain. And I think we ended up going in the water, and I ended up being like, no, I need to go in the water. And it was, you guys got sunscreen on, and I was like, I'm just going to, and I think I just like took sunscreen and just slapped my back, and just like ran into the water. And I'm like, all right, I want to be here with friends. I want to be here with everybody. I don't want to be left out on the beach. And so like we go in the water, and it's like, it's a nice beach. It's crazy. Like you just see like.
That's my favorite beach on this planet Earth.
Yeah, I love it. I hope it's still there. I don't know.
It is.
Oh, I want to go back so bad because like, yeah, it's just so cool because it's, a very nice fine sand beach. At the end, at the upper part of the beach, where like the opposite of the water, are just some rocks you can like sit on and stand at, and there's a tree covering right where the rocks are. And then you go into the water, and ahead of you is just a crazy island. The right side is a huge cliff that extends maybe 200-300 feet forward, so it's kind of like you're in like a little cove kind of thing. It's so cool. I remember we went down there early on. I saw rocks at the end of the beach, and they were not super steep, but they were like over there, and I was like, man, I kind of want to go up there. I remember having that thought, and then we like go about our day, and we're like, and I remember we're in the water, and it's like we're all just kind of floating, and I'm like, I don't know, nothing's too crazy, nothing's weird. Like stuff was shaking earlier, but I feel like all the feeling the water below and all that kind of stuff, there's so much sensory that I don't know if that's why I didn't see anything crazy at that point or whatever. But I remember we go back up. I don't know how I ended up on the beach, sitting on the rock, staring at the rocks, because like that's when you discover that like there's patterns in the simple rocks and stuff. So I'm seeing all that stuff move, and then I see a lizard come up and crawl up the rocks, and he's like crawling forward, and he crawls up onto this one rock and just stands there and like looks out at the water, like turns his head like so his eye could see. I was like, me and this dude are just chilling. He don't need food. He don't need nothing. Like we're both just here observing the water. Like my man, like I'm just bonding with this lizard in my head, just hanging out. Yeah, I don't even know. And then I know that, and then at one point I don't know when it was. So much had happened in such a thing, but I remember you're like, oh, I want to go climb that rock. I was like, we can do that? You're like, yeah, we can do whatever we want. I was like, oh shit.
What it was is you said it would be so cool to go sit up on those rocks, and I was like, then let's just go do it. And you were like, we can do that? As if like we needed permission in nature to go sit. But it's like when your head is so deep in that realm, you don't think about things in life the same way that you normally do. So it was like, now that you had this permission to go climb this rock, it was like, okay, let's go do it.
Well, I was like, I don't want to just fall on some rocks and die with drugs. Like that would just look bad. Like, oh man, like fat guy gets found in water.
But I mean, I don't know how you feel. Especially on like a 2-gram dose, I feel more dialed into my body. Like that I can climb better. I have better balance. Like it feels like I get turned up a notch if I'm on a lower dose.
Yeah, for sure. And by that point, I was already like doing some rock climbing and stuff, so I was pretty comfortable with like how to manipulate the body to get up rocks and stuff. And it wasn't like a hard climb or anything. It was just like rapids at the bottom. I don't even know, but like a small bit there. And it was cool to get on the rock. And that's when I think things got real interesting, because that was whenever we started like listening to music, and you were like, oh, just like throw this on. And I don't remember what the first song was, but I remember throwing it on and sitting there, and I remember I like asked you different things about it before, like when you listen to music, do you pictures for them, that kind of thing. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, do the pictures ever not match the music? And you were like, no. I was like, what do you mean no? And then I like closed my eyes and I saw the same thing again. And then but what I saw, so like when I like closed my eyes, I think it was like the first time I closed my eyes, and I was like, the music sounded crazy, and my vision was like red on top and yellow at the bottom, and it went like red to orange to yellow, and it was like, or it might have been yellow on top, red at the bottom. It was just one way. I know it was like faded through the hues, and I like was standing there looking forward, and if I looked to my right like 50 degrees or so, there were 3 shadowed, like they looked like gray aliens, like straight up. I was like, there's just 3 of them, and they looked at me, and then I looked at them, and I was just looking at it. And that's when I opened my eyes, turned to you, and was like, do the pictures ever not match? And you were like, no. And I was like, all right. And then I closed my eyes again, and I looked over, and they were still there. And then the one like turned its head and like leaned forward. Like, can you see me right now? And I was just like, what is happening? And then I opened my eyes, looked back up to you, really confused. And then I closed my eyes again, and then it was just like, whew, like it's just all of the crazy infinite imagery, all that kind of stuff, like matching the music. And I was like, what the fuck? So yeah, I met aliens on a beach in St. Thomas.
Because I had headphones on too, and we were on the same playlist.
Yeah.
And but it was like we were kind of going back and forth, like, oh, listen to this song, listen to this one.
Yeah.
And I just remember I let you know, like, okay, go in, but if you need my attention, since I have headphones in, just like shake me or hit my arm, my leg or something. And I remember feeling my leg get hit, and I looked at you and said, "There's aliens in there." But when you explained it, it was. I've had similar experiences. The one that I've had is I almost feel like the visual things that you see, and I do see the same thing. It's like always a fading of colors, and it can be red to yellow, but it can also be blue to green. It's like different ways that I just watch them fade through.
Yeah.
But now that you say it, I feel like I've always seen the hands, is what I say, through the yellow to reddish one. And the way that I've always seen it is it looks like a shadow of a hand is placing itself on the other side of the curtain. Like I feel like the visuals that are there are a curtain or a veil. And I think that when you get through that, that's like the other side, whatever that other side is. And so it's like, I think there may be entities back there. And so when people say they have experience or interaction with the entities, that it's when they've taken a high enough dose to get through the veil to the other side.
Yeah. I always sort of felt like if I'm applying a logic to it, is that it is like an awakening of like, okay, this is the first time that I'm able to experience that. But if they are there, whatever their reason is for looking at me, I now have made that connection back and forth. I don't know. That definitely gets me weird because it's like the logical thought process is like a God complex. Like, I was chosen and now they can see me and now I'm going to be there. Like, if I go whatever. But it's like, I don't think that. But it's like, it's definitely weird now because people be like, aliens, bro. And I'll be like, all right, I can see it. Like, okay, I'm crazy. That's fun. Like, that's neat. Yeah. I don't know. It was really cool because I think that was the first time there's a song called Frog Bass. I remember that one specifically. And there's like, it sounds like you take like two cheese graters and just slam them together like in a beautiful way. And I remember that created like a steampunk world where like I like closed my eyes and like looking around, like almost like I had a VR headset on with my eyes shut, and I just could see like this like weird like cog like ship top and just like a city thing. And it felt like, I mean, you ever watch like a Gorillaz video, but they like it's tons of transitions and weirdness or whatever, but they all like don't actually make sense but kind of do. And that's how I felt like the entire experience was. It was like each song was like this whole thing. Oh yeah, I remember the one you were like, if you can listen to this while doing mushrooms, you can do anything. It's like Live This Nightmare by I don't know the artist or whatever, but I remember going through that and I was like, after I finished, I was like, whoa, this is so crazy.
I think it was cool. Pegboard Nerd's Hero. It's like, it's so aggressively electronic that it takes you through every realm of your psyche you could go through, especially when you're on like a decent dose of any psychedelic. And that's what I've always said, like, if you can get through Pegboard Nerd's Hero,
that's interesting because I would bet my life it was Live This Nightmare because like I don't know, that was insane. Maybe I clicked the wrong song or something, but that was the one I associated with at the time. It was very interesting. I feel like that was the coolest part. I think was that we were just on a rock, just with the sun beating. So we're just getting the sun. We're just in there, and it's just out. And then we're like seeing random people come to the beach, and it's like, oh man, that's so like just random people. And I wasn't like scared of the random people. Just like, they're doing their thing too. It's like interesting. I don't like that's the crazy thing. This was like 2 hours or 2.5 hours or 3 hours of time. And I don't remember anything but these 3 instances of moments. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what makes me wonder. You had something drawing you to that rock, and it was like when we got on that rock, that's when everything went nuts.
Yeah.
And so I have to wonder if there are like energy vortexes or whatever you want to call it on this planet, and that you had to draw toward it, so like you were tapped into the other side to know where it was coming through, and it was like when we hit that portal, that's when we were able to see something through the veil on the other side.
Yeah, and I do think, from what I remember, is that I was trying to listen to music when I was on that rock, hanging out with my lizard boy, and it just didn't, like, nothing happened. And I think that's interesting, too, is if I did try to listen to music and nothing, like, when I did close my eyes, nothing really got there. Oh, I remember the craziest moment, though, is when I was sitting on that rock and, like, having thoughts or whatever, and I don't know if I was, like, down or whatever, and, like, rain came through and just started, like, pouring rain for, like, 2 minutes, but I was, like, under the water canopy, so I was just, like, sitting there hanging out. And then it all just went away and became beautiful again. I'm like, what is life? Like, what is this whole thing? It was such a weird.
Yeah, Caribbean islands are definitely an interesting place for plant medicine.
So weird.
Yeah.
Oh man, I can't imagine if I was tripping whenever I was snorkeling. That'd be crazy. You ever do that?
I haven't.
That has to be insane. Like looking down at sea urchins.
I've always thought about like scuba diving too, but it's with the regulator in and
that
so many
nuts.
things that can go wrong. It's like, yeah. And honestly, it's psychedelic enough just scuba diving. Yeah. Like you're in an alien world surrounded by alien things. Like there's no need for any
It's a whole different thing.
There. Yeah.
Dude, yeah. Seeing sea urchin for the first time. First time I saw a barracuda, I was like, nope. Just had to get out of there. And it's shallow water too. Like, oh, yeah, dude.
But so, the first, full-blown experience, do you recall feeling any different the next day after having that experience?
I definitely feel like I had some level of enjoyment. I don't remember where that was in conjunction with that trip, because I feel like that trip was the same trip we went out to. we like went to Christmas Cove because it was like Christmas weekend or whatever. I don't know if it was before or after all that. I just remember like I'd be really curious to hear it is in the timeline because just know that I got really drunk Christmas Eve. Apparently, I'm just networking it up a storm and making people drinks at the bar. And then I guess I like played music for people in the car. I don't remember going home, and yeah, and I was hungover the next day. So we like get on a boat, go to this beautiful beach in the middle of nowhere, and there's like I love it's crazy because you just take a boat to a cove, and then you just connect your boat to other boats, and then they have a ginormous boat that releases little boats to deliver pizza. That's cool, I guess, or whatever. I also thought it's funny that we were on that boat going out to Christmas Cove, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's Rape Island." Like with Epstein, Epstein, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I got there before."
And that was before that.
Before it was cool,
down.
Yeah, I know it's hype, and so we're just like, "Oh yeah, that's a thing." Yeah,
and that just goes to show everybody in the Caribbean knew how much of a creep Epstein was before any of this stuff hit the media.
Yeah,
like, everybody knew that was a sketchy island with a sketchy dude, and then all that came out.
Yeah, it's so weird. But yeah, and so I just remember being like hungover, and I was like rough, and I was just like the music's so loud, everything sucks, and just all that. And I was like, oh, swimming. That was the first time in a long time that I realized like how far swimming and how much effort it takes to swim far places is. But yeah, I don't know. Like from that whole experience, I definitely feel like it unlocks your ability to understand that things are much deeper than they initially seem, or that are taught to us by either religion or society. Like animals, like nature itself, all that kind of stuff. It's like a lot deeper, and we coexist in it and not necessarily alongside it. And I feel like now society is alongside it more so than anything else. And I think that's why I like Pittsburgh a lot, is because there's so much nature integrated within the city. Like there's trees everywhere, all that kind of stuff. So that's cool. But I definitely think that's like the first time that became apparent. Like I never looked up at clouds and was like, oh, that's sick before that, just because it's just like I never appreciated what's like there, like the beauty of the world itself.
I mean, I've said it on my solo episodes too, but my appreciation for nature was one of the biggest things that I've taken away from specifically psilocybin. And I think that because it comes from the planet, it's like this, and it's this weird in between human/plant life, because it still breathes oxygen and emits carbon dioxide the way that we do. So it's not technically a plant. It is a fungus. It's this weird halfway thing that I feel like puts us in touch with nature. Yeah. And it's funny because I saw some meme the other day that was saying, and he was talking about mushrooms, and it was like, oh, this thing that we create that is a defense mechanism, you human beings like getting fucked up off of it. And it's like, it's kind of funny, but it's like, I don't even like the term of like, it doesn't just get you fucked up. It teaches you that this earth is so important. Like it's our support structure, and it gives you more, I don't know, just, I appreciate the nature and the beauty of it more, being on the backside of psilocybin experiences.
Yeah, I definitely do feel that way as well. It's weird because although it did, I would say, positive things overall for me or whatever, I would never recommend that someone else would do it. I mean, if you do it, like, do it within your own volition. I would never be like, everyone should try this. Like, I'm definitely not that kind of guy. And I don't know. I think part of it is because I am jealous in a way of the people that are still just locked into the world. Like, because as soon as I did it, it's done. You're done. There's no more. You cannot just live the normal life, whatever that means for you. And
yeah, that's an interesting. I mean, I've had that same thought process myself. Is that I really do feel like it's a being unplugged from the matrix situation, because it really took me to like the next level of health and having appreciation for this avatar that I live in. And so I can't go back to just like eating mindless garbage food, and I can't sit down and watch a football game, like things that the people that are quote unquote still plugged into the matrix, what they enjoy in life, it doesn't appeal to me anymore. And so is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. Like if I could plug back in and be happy with the norm stuff, would I? I don't think so. Like I would happily trade my appreciation for people and nature and loving myself and others more, and saying that like, oh, I can't eat fast food anymore, like it doesn't do anything for me. It makes me a happier, healthier person anyway. So like I don't think that there's any way I'd want to plug back in.
Yeah, no, I hear you. It's interesting that you would say like the idea of like football or whatever would be like a plugged in type of thing, because I do feel like things like football, things like sports are an art in their own way as well. And I do think that if someone's in tune or connected with that, like, have you ever been interested in football?
No, but what I would say I was interested in, like, I would watch UFC back in the day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I definitely don't want to watch people beat each other up. Like, and I understand you can look at it from a skill and technique side of things with like jujitsu, they're saying it's like a puzzle you're playing with your body and that sort of thing. But ultimately the goal is to inflict pain on another person. And I can't wrap my head around that anymore. And like for me, music is a great one to bring up because I loved metal music whenever I was, a teen and in my 20s. And it was like right after experience with psilocybin mainly. I don't like angry music anymore. It doesn't resonate with me. And it's like, I like happier, like put me in a better vibe type of music. Yeah.
I never really messed with metal music until I went to like a concert live. Like my buddy's in like a band and I like feeling it in the chest and like that kind of stuff. Like, it's like, oh, this is badass. Like, this is sick. And it's like, I get it. And I get it more now. And so that's cool. I'm pissed he didn't tell me. Like, I feel like the way is to get those earplugs that like lower the intensity of the sound, but not so your ears are still fine. Yeah. And he didn't tell me to bring those. And I was pissed. But yeah, I don't know. It was definitely fun enough. And I just feel like I feel like with psychedelics, it'll put you in tune with more whatever we don't know if we're meant to do things or if we do certain things and train them and we fall in love with them and then we create that idea that we're meant or put on here for whatever reason. Who the fuck knows? But I feel as if you take psychedelics seriously, whatever thing you put your mind into, put your soul into, you will then focus on that and be better at that. And if that is football, you might be better at football. You might be more focused or whatever about different things, open up your mind about whatever it is within it. And I think that's like the most interesting thing to me is that I've known people that have done it, done it recreationally, done it just for partying, those kind of things. And it definitely seems to have mixed results across the board. Like people that just party on it or whatever, they have different experiences. Some people like do a bunch of mushrooms, go and drink a bunch, and they're like, I don't want to do that ever again. And they just write off mushrooms forever. So it's definitely super weird. I don't really know. But the idea of just make money and live is a weird thing. I guess it definitely would makes you think about what you care about most in life. Because I guess if you just want to make money and have a family, that's a noble thing. That's a powerful thing. Like giving up your life for another human to enable them. Like that's the way to do it if you're gonna have a kid. So I don't know. I think
that's a better way to put it in perspective from being plugged in the matrix than focusing on a single task like football or something like that. Because that's kind of I always have goals in my head. Like this is what I want to achieve. Yeah. And that's the best way, I guess, to sum up being plugged in the matrix is the people who just are working for the weekend. You know what I mean? Like they have this 9 to 5. They're just, or these people that want to put in overtime just to have some more money to work for that weekend. And it's like, for me, my free time and travel and leveling up in life, those are the things that I'm looking forward to. And I often have to ask myself or like think about. I love to ask people like, where do you see yourself in 10 years? Where do you see yourself in 20? Like, what's your goal? And what I find is a lot of people don't have one. They're like, oh yeah, I'm just going where the money is. And it's like, well, why? Like, and I guess that's what I think being unplugged from the matrix is seeing there are endless opportunities available to us as human beings. Like if you put in the work and you have the drive, you can do whatever you want. Yeah. But you have to have that drive. And I think, have you seen the Lego movie?
Yeah.
That is a great like Matrix type thing too, because it's like everybody's singing that song. It's so awesome. And they're just going through, living the life, working for the weekend. And then this guy unplugs and he's like, oh wait, I can go do whatever I want. Yeah. And I think again, when you're plugged into the Matrix, I think that goes over your head. Yeah. That whole message of that movie is lost.
Well, it's too hard. It's like, there's a million excuses of why you shouldn't or couldn't do another thing. And some people can't. Like there are some people, if you have 3 kids and you're in a situation like that sucks. Like, yeah. I don't know. It's definitely interesting because I believe I wish I knew exactly at what point when we did that, because I know I did theater and stuff. I don't know if I did that before or after. I believe it was before, because I think when we talked about it, I was like super hyped on it and like explained to you aspects of it and that kind of thing. But it might have been after. I'm not sure. I'm really curious.
You were in theater before.
Okay. Yeah, because I think that like there was definitely a level of like creativity. I don't know if it unlocked, but a lot of things culminated at that and around that point in my life that I can't sit there and be like, oh, this like directly helped me in these ways. But like from that, within that year span, I went from just like going for a degree that I didn't really care about to all-inning on. I still got that degree that I don't care about, but I like the entire time during my side project, I was just like acting a ton. I like studied acting in New York City, like just trying to all in on that stuff, and that was super duper interesting. Just trying to like study people and learn about people and just try to understand why people do what objects. And I think that fucked me up, especially with like the psychedelics aspect of it too, because we are all just people. So I like that. What that taught me in a way was just that, like, I think we're all the same. We all have the same soul. Just our experiences are what change us. And then I just apply that to acting immediately. It's like, okay, if I read this play, that means within this character, what they've said, these are the experiences they had. Maybe they had an uncle do something to them, or they had this, like, when they were a kid, they fought their family and now they feel alone or whatever. And then just put on those circumstances and say, okay, if that was my thought process, then I wouldn't trust people with this. I wouldn't do this. And then that's how I would just react in live moment. And that's how I would do the acting thing. But now it's fucked up because then I'll just meet people on the street and I'm like, what do you mean? Like, and it's just crazy. But I also take people at face value, which is also its weird thing too. So I feel like mushrooms make me take things at face value, but like they also enable me to understand things can be way deeper than they are. And it's very weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have no like, this did this for me, because it was just definitely a weird moment. And I don't remember if I was super like depressed at any point prior to that at all either. Because I know I went through that too. And that's what's interesting, is I don't know if by undergoing and doing psychedelics that it's created higher highs and lower lows. And if I'd never done it, would that lower low have even happened or not? Like, that type of stuff is interesting to me too. Like, something I think about. I don't know. We'll never know. I've already opened the box and I will continue. So yeah.
I think, I mean, that's, I guess, it for the first one. I like to encompass like a single experience with each episode, rather than, because we've had a lot of psilocybin experiences going forward. And what I think is interesting is I'm trying to think of when we kind of like reconnected, because I mean, for listeners, I joined the military. How old were you whenever I left?
Dude, I don't know. How old are you now?
37.
Okay. I'm 25. So what, you left at 18?
I left in 2003.
Yeah. And so that would be, so you're 12 years older than me?
96, so 4. So you were 7.
Yeah.
So you were 7 when I left.
Yeah.
So it was like, you know, we didn't have that many years to really connect beforehand. And then, so it was like growing up, I had Joe as a, closer brother, being 1 year older. And then it's like, we're in this weird spot now where like I talk to you way more often than Joe, who I grew up with, who was like my best friend growing up.
For sure.
So it's like, I don't know when that connection happened and how much of it is related to plant medicine, because like there definitely is that aspect of bringing you closer to the people who you've had the experience with. And so it's like, I don't know when we kind of reconnected, because we were reconnected enough that like you came to St. Thomas, you know what I mean?
No, and that's where it's like, and so it had to be prior to that. I think, did you, that's a good question, because like I'm trying to think of like high school. I don't remember what, I guess then the question was, when was the last time you came to Pittsburgh? Like was there any time you remember coming to Pittsburgh when I was a teenager?
I don't know, because it was really only like once a year. That was as often as I got back here. So yeah.
And like we come out to California. Like I remember coming out to California for your wedding, and that was its own experience. I don't know. It's definitely weird.
You would have been a teenager then, and then back for your graduation party, but that kind of stuff was really about it.
Yeah, I definitely feel like there was some level of like, when I got to college, I feel like that was probably part of it, because I don't like, our parents never really did that. There's so much of life that they haven't seen that we both have.
Right.
Like I feel like at this point I've seen so much of the United States. Like definitely now within the past year, like I feel like I've surpassed a lot of experiences that.
Yeah, I guess that's probably what it is, because they dropped straight into parenthood and got locked down with the kids, and I guess that's probably why we connected, because you and I just went off and did like the black sheep thing. You know, leave home, and then you went to college, I went to military, and then just explore life and find out what it has to offer.
Yeah, and I feel, I don't know if I would have done that as readily. I don't know if I didn't see someone else do it. I'm curious if that's a thing or not, but
because it doesn't seem uncommon. I mean, I know a lot of people that I went to high school with that are still just they did the same thing. They had some kids and they're locked down in Pittsburgh and they don't go anywhere. And it's maybe that's the right thing. I mean, if you look at tribal communities, they spend their entire lives where they're at. But I think we're just blessed to be in existence right now, where we can hop on an airplane and go anywhere on this globe pretty affordably.
Yeah, I lucked out. I'm bad with women, so I kept free. And we're all set to go, dude.
Well, I mean, I guess that really sums up this episode. I don't know that we're digging any deeper, but we're gonna do another episode. I don't know if it's gonna release right after this or not, but we're gonna do another one on his first ayahuasca experience because that was pretty interesting. So
I think the last thing I think is what's cool about the experience was the like discussion and reflection afterwards. Because like I remember we got off the rock and we were kind of like coming down and we're like just talking about like different, like the people that were on the beach, they're like shredded. And we're like, oh man, look at that dude. He looks like 50 and he's just still killing it. Like it's crazy. And we're talking about how, I think it was how we started discussing like, I don't know if it was body dysmorphia or like representation, but what it's like to see like models at like counters, like grocery stores. Like if you're checking out, you see all that stuff every day of what bodies should be or whatever. And that was interesting, just having like those type of discussions, like directly reflecting afterwards. I think is like the coolest thing of like, okay, we just experienced our thing. Now let's come back and like discuss what we've learned and that kind of stuff. I feel like is one of my favorite parts of the experience.
It's the integration. Yeah. Like discussing what you unpacked from that experience.
Yeah. So sorry, that was one.
Oh, yeah, perfect. I guess that's the perfect way to end it. So, thanks for joining me, and look forward to the next one.
Woo! Thank you all.
Guys.